Yeah, no, we're glad to, that's good for
Folks, I'm trying to hear it, please.
Last thing is, and this one's probably second most, the traffic data. I've read the traffic data, and the traffic data is what it is. It's a study that was done.
Folks, can you please be respectful? I'm trying to hear Mr. Bukowski's comments to the developer so that we can get our comments to them.
Okay. So I've read through the traffic. That's been one of my pet peeves since this project has been sitting on the board, and I'm looking at that. Read through the data. It says this many cars this time. Really doesn't give a lot of delay data. The other thing I noticed is it really doesn't reflect what I've experienced in the morning and what I think a lot of people in the room have experienced. It's only like a day here, a day there. It's not like these studies were done over the course of a week or a month. So how can we be sure that this isn't really going to have a super big impact, which I believe everybody thinks it's going to?
So just, we'll provide more information. So DOT provides historical data, and along corridors, they collect data at different times of the year, and you see variations. So the first thing that they do in looking at our information is see that it's representative. So DOT will confirm that the peak hourly volumes that we use in our study are representative of typical conditions. That's what you want to really look at. In terms of the data, and when we collect the data, we use video to collect the data in the peak hours. So when the buses are stopping and traffic is backed up along East Main Street, in the morning you can see how far that queue backs up. The queues back up past this property. We know that, but then they dissipate, and the queues depend on how many the pickups are occurring. In the information that we submitted, supplemental information we submitted to the board, we have the number of buses that were observed by direction on East Main Street in each of the peak hours, the morning peak hours and the afternoon peak hours. So I think that's the basis that we look at. There are conditions, we state that about backups that occur. Some of the backups you can't avoid because they're bus-related stops. The backups that are due to the inefficiencies of the traffic signals, that can be improved. And that's where the village, you should put correspondence into New York State DOT, and that would be a requirement of this project to upgrade the detection for those signals so that they work more efficiently. That's basically it.
I'm surprised that hasn't been done before. We did get a response from the Orange County Department of Planning. It also said some things that I don't know that we understand. The village to work with the New York State DOT to determine what traffic improvements are necessary for this portion of the lane. They talk about widening the streets, another lane, just signal modifications.
So at this size project, they wouldn't necessarily require widening of lanes, okay? But upgrades to signals, that's what I mentioned, that's what the county is doing. And those upgrades would be at the applicant's, which is important, because the Department of Transportation
Folks, please.
does not have unlimited funds, as you can see, maintaining roads and signals. If it was there, an open checkbook, they would probably upgrade every signal in the whole region. And in this region, they have, I think, over 2,000 signals just in what's called Region 8.
Last question on traffic, and you acknowledged the backup past this building. A lot of times when backup is past this building, people are scattering onto other streets and taking side streets and whatnot, so I don't even know that backup that far is a true representation of just how much volume is here right now.
Well, I think two things. Number one is, it's the bus-related backups. You can't change that, and the buses are going to stop. If it's the backups that occur when the signals, get overloaded, that can be improved, and that would reduce some of the diversion trips that you're referring to.
And how does that actually get accomplished?
The signal upgrades,
Yeah.
as part of the New York State DOT highway work So my recommendation would be, because they haven't made a final determination yet, would be to contact Region 8, New York State DOT, or Burnett Boulevard, and recommend that as mitigation, whether it be this project or other projects in the village, that they consider these signal upgrades as part of this responsibility.
And would they sequence the lights between the center of town?
Yeah, so what happens is, just a real quick description, first step is they put in video detection, which is cameras, so they can actually see what's occurring. That allows them to better time the signals, to sequence, say, the brotherhood light, which I think that, I designed that signal 25 years ago, I think, or probably more, I can't keep track of it. The current actuation by camera is much more efficient than the loop detectors that were installed originally. The signals then coordinate whether or not they would go to what's called an adaptive system. So an adaptive system is where they say, okay, traffic on Brotherhood is going to have to wait longer because we want to get the traffic on Main Street going. That would be DOT's determination. But the first step would be to get video detection so that they're operating as efficiently as they can, and that DOT can actually communicate with those signals without having to be here. They can do it remotely.
I'm thinking that's something we need to do now, whether this project happens
Yeah,
or not.
I think,
We as a board, can we write a letter to the DOT?
So, yeah, and I was just talking to John Petrosini about that. I think that our approach will be, we're gonna wait for the DOT comments on this particular project, and once we receive those, the board can review it, and if we want to get additional feedback from DOT, we can submit correspondence to them and then consider what DOT will do that we can include as part of any mitigation to the project that we might consider.
Thank
yeah,
So
we've
that should
actually,
stay on
just
everybody's
to-
radar for sure.
in the August 3rd submission to comments from the last meeting, which I think there were about 10 different items, but under item 4, we actually discussed that, and as part of the highway work permit, the video detection upgrades. So that's item 4 on page 4. It's in the discussion already.
The village does have a good working relationship with the DOT, so we can discuss with them how to incorporate.
you. And thank you both for the answers. Don, and there's
You're asking about the picture with the flood in front of it. The year was 2011, and I believe it was Irene. It was October.
Thank you.
It was October 29th.
Yes.
My birthday, I know.
Yes.
Happy birthday.
Irene and Sandy both,
And both of them go back to back.
same day.
Can I just say something about
Mr. Dickel,
DOT?
you have used your 3 minutes.
I just, one thing about
That's all here,
DOT,
it's not
2
so-
seconds. I was on a Zoom meeting, South Blooming Grove, they're putting in a light up on 7 Springs in 208. They said they spoke to the DOT, that they can't do it till 2026, and so they got approval to make it out of 2x4s, okay? And they're gonna be putting a 2x4, but DOT is so backed up, this isn't gonna happen till 2025, 2026.
Yeah,
Bob, are
just
you,
one thing
Sure, go
to
ahead.
answer that. So, as part of a highway work permit, the DOT requires the applicant to hire a contractor and install the equipment at their cost. The project you're referring to is on what is called the TIP, the Transportation Improvement Program. And you're correct, that is the final signalization of that intersection is on their program, but it's when they get to it and they get the funding, they get the design done. The difference here is that if the village requests DOT and it becomes a condition of a permit, it's up to the applicant to install that equipment, so it gets done much quicker.
thank you. Bob, are you?
Thank you.
You're all set, yes, I did not forget. Sir, if you could please state your name and address for the record?
Anthony, 42 Burnett Way. So the gentleman there mentioned that once the application is fully completed, the board's going to vote. Are we going to be notified before that vote happens? And we're going to have another meeting?
He's asking if if the public is gonna be notified before the vote happens.
Once the application is fully completed, then you guys get to vote. I want to know, are we going to be notified so we can have another meeting before this vote happens?
So all of the village planning board meetings are public meetings. We have set dates and times already. It's the second and fourth Tuesday of every month that this board meets. An agenda or the information regarding the meeting will be posted on the village website. And if you have any questions about anything, if it's not posted, please call the village. But you'll be notified as in, it's a public meeting and it will be posted on the agenda.
One important question, you see that someone had to abstain from this meeting. Would that person probably have to abstain from the final vote?
She is completely recused from this application, yes.
Okay, so then you'll have the chance of 2-2 vote and it doesn't pass?
I presume that's an option, yeah?
So all you need is 2 people then to be in the negative.
There are four voting members on this application. There will not, right?
You need 3. 3 of the 4.
Right, you need a majority to pass any.
You have to remember too, 722 is the code, and it's about us, the people, and in the best interest and the welfare of the general public. And I don't see anything here that is in the best interest of the general public.
I'd like to review that statute with you to my understanding.
I'll contact you again.
I can give you my contact info.
Is it, can you state your,
Yes, Mike
name and
Garcia, I
address?
live up on Larch Street. Just want to make a comment about the gentleman, Bob, I can't see your last name, but I just want to say, he made such a valid point about the traffic. I mean, traffic around here drives me crazy. And I take all these roads, the main highways, I take Market Road, I take Bull Road, I take all these other roads to try and get around this village. And that is such a great point. And the fact is, you know, he said the buses stop when they stop, and that causes traffic backup. The buses are stopping because all the traffic stops. It's not necessarily picking up kids. They get their kids and they move along, but the problem is there's just so much traffic in this village. And I really feel this is not the place for this project.
So I'll call one more time. If anybody hasn't spoken, this is your final chance. Otherwise, I'm going to recommend to the board that they close the public hearing for this evening and adjourn it. But to the, I don't know if the mayor is here. Yeah, my question to this board is, you've heard people say, you've heard members of the public say that this venue is perhaps too small to accommodate the number of people that are coming. The reason we couldn't change venues is because last time the board voted to just keep it here, so I couldn't change the venue without proper notice, without a vote of the board to do so. So this is your opportunity. I don't know if we can hold it in the high school. I don't have any connections there.
Knights of Columbus.
I know somebody at the.
Yeah, summertime.
So,
Hold
on.
I'd like to make a motion.
Outside.
That we look into.
So what I would suggest is we just hold the public hearing open, we not vote in any way. This board will have to then, regardless of any agenda items, will have to meet at the next meeting, even if, at this point we don't have any agenda items, but it's too early. We'll have to meet regardless, because we'll have to meet to make a vote on where to hold this next public hearing. And this,
Do we expect it? No, but we could open without teeth and renotice when they usually have.
I think you can reload it, yeah.
But that way they.
But I can't.
People come to every single meeting and nothing's happening.
Oh, I understand, but I can't even set a public hearing without a vote of the board. So
Understood.
you know what I mean? So,
Excuse me, when I asked them, there's 4 people up here, where they think the meeting should be.
yes, but we don't control other venues, so we would have to coordinate that with either the high school or whatever other community type venues that we are able to find. So my point being is, hold it open tonight. we could just vote to adjourn the public hearing to a date to be set. And we will have to meet again to determine where and when, based upon whoever we're able to get in
Yeah, we can
contact
reach
with.
out to the school, or as he says, Knights of Columbus as well.
Knights of Columbus, the school charges.
They're unavailable on
I
Tuesday
think the Knights
for
of
the rest of the
Columbus
year.
have been in some pretty big events there.
What about the
If I can make
parking?
one specific, we're
Their
expecting to
parking
have
is good.
pretty
Yeah,
much
they can make
all
it
our
up.
meeting studies and whatnot submitted for the next planning. Time.
The next one for this month?
I may have archaeological tomorrow,
Okay.
and any revisions I need to make to the plans are a few days. I'm not sure if I'll have a full response from the DOT,
Excuse me.
Go ahead,
When's the
Brian.
next scheduled meeting of the planning board?
August 23rd.
August 23rd?
Yes.
Is that the workshop?
That's actually the regular meeting.
Okay.
So I would say August 23rd, we're gonna have to, at that point, determine where and when we're gonna adjourn the public hearing until. I would suggest to the board, the applicant obviously is not gonna remail, but we can republish to the village's official paper with the time, but obviously we'll also have a public vote as to the date and time and place.
Do you have an agenda for the 23rd yet?
No,
But this won't be a long thing on the agenda.
if this is the only thing, then it's just gonna be setting the public hearing date.
You can publish and put it on the website.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so you said it'll not only be published, but it'll be on the website.
It's already, yeah, it's already on, yeah.
It's on the website, but the agenda doesn't get posted until sometimes days before, or the day, or
Yeah,
cancellations.
I don't control the village's website. So in that case, a vote to adjourn this public hearing to a date to be set for the future would be your first vote, and then you can adjourn the meeting. Brian, if you have anything additional?
No, it's just that, in order for me to send out those notices that you and I discussed for people who.
Yes, you'll need to know.
So
Yes.
I'll need to know a time and date
Yes.
for that, and I don't know if you want, are you going to do an amended public notice for me to
Yes.
send?
Yes.
Okay, and I'll send that.
Yeah, I'll prepare the public notice, and I'll send, because I send it personally to the paper.
Okay. And then we'll come by on the
We,
23rd, and I'll know when it's going to be.
Yes.
So we're in Delaware, so this has got to be September, because we need time on our side.
It would have to be, because the 23rd, we're just voting on what date it's going to be for. Okay. So, vote to adjourn it to a date to be set in the future.
Make a motion that we adjourn this public hearing to a date to be set in the future, a possible different venue.
All in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion to close the meeting.
Make a motion to close the meeting.
Any second? All in favor?
Right over here.
They sell them out?
I know you guys would.
I'm surprised you feel a guitar now.
How you doing, John?
See what happens? Aesthetically, it doesn't close.
I get what you're saying.
How are you? You okay?
Just say, bar would be locked up, the kids will be off for minutes.
Oh, God. We're supposed to shut this off.
I'll take care of it.
Oh, yeah.
So we don't have.
Is it over?
It's over. We don't have anything to do.